$109,493 Bitcoin. Welcome back. Almost 110K. Are we on our way to 120? Supply shock incoming. Told you this yesterday. OTC desks are drying up. Now we're going to show you what the exchanges are looking like as far as Bitcoin supply. Massive news coming out of Ripple and XRP. My God. If you're joining us from the video we literally just posted 5 minutes ago, welcome. We'll have a little bit of a further breakdown, but pretty big news, my friends. If it goes through, could Ripple overtake Bitcoin? Something Forrest has said. I don't know. Crazy thoughts here. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the altcoin markets. We're also going to talk about Jerome Powell and the Fed. He's being investigated. Is a Fed rate cut around the corner? Are we about to get the perfect storm of catalysts for crypto and Bitcoin? We have a lot to talk about today. Let's go.
Hola! It's your boy Big Rob back in the house. Welcome to Sin City Crypto, home of the entertainment-focused cryptocurrency content. We take old, boring, stale information, repackage it all up in a fun, sexy way. And what a day, what a day. I don't know if you aren't excited about crypto today, then, well, go buy stock market because, well, even if you do buy the stock market, there's plenty of crypto there as well. So we got Solana staking ETF is live today. We also got BlackRock's Bitcoin returns or revenues outpacing the S&P 500. Also, I mean, if you aren't excited about Ripple filing for a U.S. banking license, then, well, you don't hold altcoins because I think that's bullish for everybody, including those of you that hold Ripple as well. Also, you know, Donald Trump's calling to investigate Jerome Powell, and so, or Congress is technically, but I think that's off of the back of Donald Trump's targeting to Jerome Powell's ways. Also, speaking of Trump, man, 8% of Donald Trump's wealth is in Bitcoin per Bloomberg.
I thought it was in that fragrance.
And then you got ETH over 2,500 yet again. Could it actually hold above 2,500? And then if you're and then everything's up. Or at least all of our favorite altcoins up. Cardano's up 10% today. AVAX and SWI are both up, I think like 9%. And then Virtuous Protocol is absolutely moonshining this morning, up over 12%. And so, you know what? If you aren't excited about this morning, then, well, tune away. Because I'm excited. You should be excited. Portfolios are green. And you know what? We're like $1,000 away from $1,000 and some change that from a new all-time.
You don't tell people to tune away if they're not excited. You tell them to tune in. We'll get them excited. Tune in, guys. We'll get you excited if you're not.
There you go.
Good show today.
Thank you.
Okay. Rob kind of gave you a rundown of really what we're going to talk about. And so let's start here, right? The theme of the show is supply shock. Yesterday, OTC, we showed you how much is left, and it ain't a lot. It sounds like a lot, but it's not a lot, I promise you. It's a fifth of what fifth of what MicroStrategy holds. That's it. That's all that's left on OTC. And then look at the exchanges. Bitcoin percent supply on exchanges has dropped to near 7-year lows, to 14.5% for the first time since August of 2018. Well, Rob, let's do a little case study here. August of 2018. We're going to go to the weekly time frame. Let's get rid of this ugly drawing here because I need to work on my drawing. August 2018. Where is August 2018? Let's find August 2018. What did Bitcoin do August 2018? Drop a vertical line here, and we're looking at August 2018. We saw Bitcoin was at $6,400. It had a little bit of a rise up to 72.43, and then we saw really the end of the bear market. Now, this was happening at the end of the bear market. Now, to be fair, though, there wasn't nearly as many Bitcoin circulating because, well, we hadn't had enough halvings, and we're still at, I think it was 12.5 or 25 Bitcoin per block at the time. And what was it, by the way? No, it was 12.5 Bitcoin in 2018. 12.5 Bitcoin were mined, and so there was a lot more. But when you take a look at this chart, And you take a look at, well, what did price do when this happened? And we had a little bit of a shot up and then price started to trickle down. We are seeing the same thing happen with Bitcoin on exchanges now, as it's absolutely, I don't even know the correct word I'm looking for. It's just fallen off a complete cliff, as you can see in the gold line. That is Bitcoin percent reserve on exchanges. It did hit a peak back in 2022 around September, and it's just been down and to the right as price has slowly been grinding up. Are we at an inflection point with OTC desks at record lows, exchange balances at 7-year lows? Bitcoin saw a little bit of a shot up this morning. Rob, are we there now? Is this a supply shock coming, my friend?
Yeah, we talk about it every day. I mean, every day we talk about what countries are about to buy Bitcoin, what companies, central banks, and so the whole idea about the bear market was like, hey, like gear up for the most epic bull market ever. Now, I think the only thing we really called into question was what were the alts going to perform like, but there's been no doubt, at least from our camp, that we were going to see a massive bull market as far as the price of Bitcoin. The metrics say the same thing. The institutions, the smart money, the traditional money, hedge funds, they're all playing with Bitcoin services, crypto. And, you know, and it's funny that, like, you would expect that, one, all of this progressive, forward-thinking Bitcoin reserve and all this was going to just be simply Bitcoin and Bitcoin alone. But, you know, the biggest surprise for me is that Congress is stepping up and saying, like, hey, you know what, we're gonna do X, Y, and Z for Bitcoin and crypto in taxes. We're gonna do this for Bitcoin and crypto for the U.S. Strategic Reserve. And so if you are a fan of altcoins, which I'm sure you are, because I know there's very few people in our audience here that is simply exposure to Bitcoin and no alts. And so the alts, you might be asking yourself, like, when are these things going to take off? When is my portfolio going to turn green again? I think this is about to pay off. And I think that if you see Bitcoin get to that elusive 120, 125, 150, alts are going to absolutely get set on fire. Now, might not be from top to bottom, 1 to 100, but you know what? The projects that have large communities that we've been talking about, I think will be the top performers. I would keep a very close eye on XRP, Avalanche, Cardano, Hedera, Caspa. Who am I leaving out here? Solana. I even think that there's going to be a lot of money to be made from Ethereum. I think there's going to be a lot of Ethereum volatility. Now, I know me and David disagree on all-time highs or cycle highs, but I can't dismiss big days for Ethereum. I also got that big news coming out of Robinhood with Arbitrum and the tokenization of stocks that, you know, are happening live or are happening right now on Robinhood's platform. And so the RWA narrative is coming true. The institution narrative is coming true. And the fact that there is just a smaller and smaller amount of Bitcoin on exchanges. What happens when OTC dries up? What happens when the U.S., and this isn't a speculation, what happens when the U.S. wants to buy 200,000 Bitcoin, David? Is there 200,000 Bitcoin OTC available at this moment?
No. There's like 160,000.
What happens when the U.S. says, okay, we're going to buy 200,000 Bitcoin? Where do they get it? And so it gets removed from exchanges. It's not even an option. And if you don't believe that will happen, it's just a supply and demand dynamics, right? If we're in you know, the middle of the summer, right now it's hard to find Nintendo Switches, the new ones, the new Nintendo Switch 2.
You still looking for it, or you got
No, I got one. Good for you. But they were hard to find, let me tell you. But they're not impossible. And you know what? I overpaid by less than 10%. But this is in the middle of summer. And I'm telling you, I know something about supply and demand. I know something about video games. And I know something about the holiday season. And this season, this holiday season, the Nintendo Switch is going to be so hard to get that I'm telling you, the price of a Nintendo Switch new is going to probably be 2x from where it is now, just simply because there's not enough out there.
So are you saying sell my altcoins for a Nintendo Switch?
If you're holding Litecoin, if you're holding...
Why do you keep picking on Litecoin and Ethereum, bro? Pick one's like Hex or
No, but what I'm saying is that like, we've seen it time and time again. Remember the COVID PlayStation 5 where the PlayStations were like 2x the price?
Did I tell you the story?
And it was simply, you did, but it is simply because there wasn't enough. And that's what we're getting at right now. The supply is already kind of low for Bitcoin. It just hasn't shocked the market yet. And we're seeing that the supply drying up. I think once we get to the quote unquote holiday season, where everyone's trying to buy Bitcoin.
We are on holiday.
Yeah, once we get to that, everyone's trying to buy Bitcoin season, which is right around the corner. It's already started, and the U.S. comes in. I'm telling you, U.S. comes in with that giant dump truck, shopping cart, whatever it is, to buy 200,000 Bitcoin. What? Then that's just not enough there. They're gonna pull it off exchanges, and price is gonna shoot up real quick. It's gonna get real ugly. And think about it this way, real quick. Think about it this way. From an exchange perspective, you want the OTC to dry up, right? Because to fulfill that order for the U.S. at 200,000 Bitcoin, to fulfill that order, you're going to have to keep inflating the price, right?
You know, there's two things I like dry. One is my towel when I get out of the shower, and two is OTC desk. I'm so corny.
That's terrible, bro.
Yeah, I know. You know what? I accept my faults.
You know what else? You know what else is dry? Your humor. There you go.
They amuse me. That's all that matters. Okay, I'm here for me and me alone. Okay. You know, I want to highlight a comment from Prez O'Neill. Said OTC will never dry up. Will there be times of low amounts of Bitcoin available, but we have to stop waiting on the zero? Yeah, I agree. 100% agree. I don't think anyone's here saying OTC is going to ever get to zero, right? There will always be sellers. Always, my friends. Always be sellers. And so if you're selling, if Bitcoin's at 1 million and you got 3 Bitcoin, although it's not going to really affect liquidity and move the price, but you might want to do that OTC. And so I agree with you, Prez O'Neill. I'm not sitting here saying OTC will go to zero, but I do think it continues to shrink. You'll get fluctuations of massive inflows. You get fluctuations of massive outflows, but everything eventually will balance. All right, let's move on. You want to talk about Paul Atkins or you want to talk about Jerome Powell first? Powell, okay. This is from our friend Scott Melker at Wolf of Wall Street. Says, today, Powell said, this was yesterday, by the way, Powell says Fed plans to, quote, wait and learn more about impact of tariffs on inflation before lowering rates. Too late, Powell. TLP, too late, Powell. Then we had this. What is going on? Why is every page loading like that? Okay. This is from Watcher Guru here, Rob. U.S. federal housing regulator, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and the HHS calls on Congress to investigate Fed Chair Jerome Powell. It's getting ugly, bro. It's getting ugly. They're investigating the Fed Chair for not cutting rates. Yeah. You think this is enough for him to...
I said this last week.
You did?
And I kind of got laughed at by you guys. And I said...
What'd you say?
Why is he not cutting rates?
Yeah.
And I bet you it's because... No, and I said, I bet you it's because he's got some kind of incentive not to do so. And then you kept going back to, well, the inflation and the number. I was like, no. There's a reason that the Fed is saying, like, hey, you know what? We are not going to cut rates. We're going to push against the U.S. government. We're going to push against everyone else's best intentions and wishes and say, like, you know what? We know what's best for all of you. We know what's best for banking. We know what's best for fiat. We know what's best for the economy is that we're going to keep these high rates at where they're at. There's somebody behind the scenes that is benefiting from that. Now, maybe it's the banks. Maybe it's foreign companies. I don't know. But somebody behind the scenes is making a lot of money and has a lot of influence behind the Fed. And you know what? I welcome an investigation. I welcome an investigation to Jerome Powell because you know what? If you're keeping the rates where they're at because of somebody else's puppet strings, then I want to know why. And I think this is happening, man. Like, why else? Like, COVID was 5 years ago, and you're still holding on to this.
Bro, it feels like yesterday, though. You know?
Yeah, but COVID was 5 years ago, and you know what? Like, we're so far past that it's like, why are we still holding rates to mitigate what happened in COVID? Like, that was 5 years ago, bro.
Listen, you've inspired me.
I
want everyone in the chat to share your best COVID story. Share your best COVID story. You had 3 months off, family, kids, wife, husband, by yourself.
Keep it minus 2 sentences, though.
Yeah.
Because we can't be reading these long.
So, for me,
keep it short and sweet.
It was a couple nights. My wife and I would smoke pot and play Call of Duty till 2 in the morning. It was pretty cool. What about you?
I started a TikTok for my bird.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay. Yeah, let us know. I'm very curious. And we also watched all the Marvel movies in chronological order. I'll tell you what, man, the circumstances sucked, but in my working career, since I started working at age 15, I've never had that continuous time off. And so it was definitely a nice break, obviously removed from the crap that was happening with the pandemic and people losing their lives, unfortunately. Okay, I do want to pivot from JP and CV, COVID, to Paul Atkins, the new chair of the Securities and Exchange Commission. Take a look at this. Paul Atkins. What do you have to say on CNBC? Let's listen.
Tokenization is an innovation, and we at the SEC should be focused on how do we advance innovation in the marketplace. And so I would argue here over the last several years, the SEC has been standing athwart efforts to innovate in the marketplace because things have been unclear. The rules have not been clear. We've had regulation through enforcement. That day is over. We are now, my whole goal is to make things transparent, from the regulatory aspect and give people a firm foundation upon which to innovate and to come out with new products and so that they know what they're doing.
I think there are two things to think about, Andrew, and that's tokenization of U.S. stocks, which is one thing which could drive a lot of cost savings for all parties.
I'm not against tokenization. I'm saying
settlement
if you wanted,
reduced.
I'm talking about if you wanted to tokenizing
SpaceX,
which is a private
company. And then there's also an access to private credit, I think you were mentioning, which is a complete individual investor access to private credit, which is also another sort of tricky area in that this is also, as you mentioned, it's not as much liquidity. Valuations are very difficult, particularly, I would imagine, for an individual investor. I mean, there are a lot of things that here that are new frontiers for investors. Where do you stand on that?
Well, two questions. So as far as tokenization and other innovations in the marketplace to make trading and holding securities easier and with quick settlement, my predecessor pushed for what we call T+1, meaning settlement and clearance the day after the trade, the trading day. And so tokenization and other aspects of doing that tokenization in the marketplace is yet the next step to have much more efficiency in the marketplace and certainty of having.
Rob, isn't it nice to have a chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission actually talk and make sense? Like common sense stuff. And we want things to be clear and we want to give people guidance. And hey, this makes sense. Wow. Insane, right? Thank God those dumb HR videos are done with, Jared. What do you think that editor's doing now, Rob? That he's not editing videos for Gary Gensler anymore? Think he's on Fiverr? You think we can find him or her?
Yes. Yes.
Rob, thoughts on Mr. Atkins talking about making everything clear, having a new SEC chair, and what do you think this could do for, what do you think some of the, proxy effects of Paul Atkins and a pro-crypto SEC chair? If you look down the line, obviously not from just a surface level, but underneath the long tail effects. What do you think could?
I mean, we're already seeing it. We got a Solana ETF live. We've seen all litigation pretty much dropped from the SEC, and well, we're seeing crypto companies go out and apply for banking licenses. We're seeing a stablecoin bill right around the corner, and so what a dramatic shift we've had in just, what is it, 7 months? 7 months ago, the idea of the U.S. having banking licenses for crypto companies was insane to me. That was foolish. You couldn't even operate an exchange.
Straight up.
You couldn't even have a regular crypto exchange where you buy and sell crypto without getting threat of lawsuit, a Wells notice from the SEC. And so, what a shift we've had. Now we have headline after headline after headline. So, I mean, if you aren't bullish, and the thing is that the government moves pretty slow, at least compared to how fast crypto moves. And so, crypto is advancing at a breakneck speed from the government. Now, we might say it's still slow. We haven't had the crypto stablecoin bill here yet, but from 7 months, we went from a blacklisted ideology of crypto is terrible and don't touch it. It's it's poison, to now all of a sudden they're encouraging banks to get a hold of crypto, and so it's pretty bullish, bro. Excited.
What's bumping uglies? You know what that means?
No.
Me neither. You know what that means? Is it bad? My producer's looking at me like that's bad. Oh, got it. Okay. So I asked people to tell us their favorite COVID stories. And so I think it was Flat Smack said he would walk into stores. Oh, here. Yeah. He said, I would go to stores with a mask on and no shirt. Miguel said, I worked, no time off. I actually started working more. I'm assuming you were in the essential category. And only 2 of you. Brian said, when I got COVID, I started investing in crypto. I guess there's always positive to every situation, right? Rob mentioned in his intro, Solana ETF is live. We'll take a look at the numbers from James Safer. First spot Solana staking ETF is officially live. Healthy start to trading for a new ETF with 8 million in trading in the first 20 minutes. Now, I don't want to compare this to the 2 we have on the market. Well, actually, I'll compare it to Ethereum. I won't compare it to Bitcoin. Rob, what are your thoughts on Solana and Ethereum, the ETFs? From this point forward, where do you think Wall Street investors are going to want to put their money if they're going to have a choice between ETH and a Solana staked ETF? I think it's a harder question than you might think, because
I'm always kind of pushing against ETH, but I can't hear on this one. I think that ETH is the institutional,
even without the staking. I mean, I think staking plays a I don't want to say a massive role, but a pretty decent, right? I mean, it figures into your decision making of, hey, am I going here or here? You don't think so?
I mean, you have staking on ETH.
Not via the ETF.
I was going to say through Robinhood, which is still kind of a traditional. So Robinhood offers staking ETH. So, I mean, technically you do have it there, but yeah, obviously it's not the same conversation here. But want
to come back to it?
No, I still think ETH is a better play for institutions. I think that if you're a large wealth management company, a big shot investor with billions of dollars, or perhaps hundreds of millions of dollars available to invest, and you're looking for crypto outside of Bitcoin, ETH just makes too much sense to me, man. I personally don't want to touch ETH. I think ETH is losing market share to Solana. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole today, but yeah, I would go ETH for institutions. But anyone watching, I would say, what you doing with that ETH, bro? Don't do that. Go to Solana. Thank you.
I did a poll. What will Wall Street be willing to invest in more? I'm not saying they're going to pick one or the other, but if they had to pick one or the other, which one would they go with? I'm in the ETH camp, man. I can't. I think ETH staking will come. But telling you, I think ETH's time is coming, my friend. There's a lot happening. And, well, speaking of ETH, here you go. ETH whales are loading up. Speaking of whales, when are our channel whales going to load up? Oh, no. Strong accumulation spotted during June's consolidation. Long-term holders are quietly stacking ETH with volume diverging sharply. Smart money's positioning. Something big is brewing. Take a look at this chart here, Rob. Just an absolute massive spike in accumulator addresses here for Ethereum. You not only have ETH with the ETF, you have ETH with the RWA narrative. I think the big one that people just like, what? How could you possibly forget that the biggest stablecoin rails are on ETH? Robinhood picked ETH. Literally every other dApp, every other coin, every other institution, when they have the choice, they go with ETH or ETH by proxy, aka Arbitrum, aka Optimism, aka, I don't know, maybe not Polygon because no one's picking Polygon. But you get the point here, okay? Do not sleep on Ethereum. I'm telling you, once activity starts ramping up and that token becomes deflationary, you're such an idiot. Yeah, sleep on the gains too, my friend. Anyways. Robin, let's take a look at the markets.
All right, let's do it. My favorite time of the day.
I hate you.
So, Bitcoin. Oh, wow. Almost at 110. We saw some. Here's the volatility. We were at 1,009.
1,009. Wow, you're so good at numbers.
109,000.
1,000.
109,800 is where we were at. So what a morning, man.
Yeah.
On the 24 hours.
Great morning.
Look, this was 24 hours ago. Not even.
Yeah.
We were at 105. And so if you weren't excited about the direction of the market, also take a look at the 7-day. This is pretty bullish. I mean, what from a charting perspective, what do you take away from this? Consolidation, go down.
Here, I'll give you something to take away. Look at my chart here.
What you got?
Got a beautiful, huge, absolutely delicious inverse head and shoulders here. That's literally breaking out. Let's draw a little bit of a neckline. This neckline is going to be so ugly. It's not even funny. Wow, that's the coolest neckline I've ever drawn. But we're seeing a breakout. I mean, this candle alone opened at 105.6, got to a high of 109.8, currently sitting at 109.292. So, I mean, is a breakout coming? Let's take a look at market cipher B. Looks like we got a green dot. Okay, green dot on the daily. Stochastics and RSI looking good. We had CryptoFace actually posted on X yesterday. That guy's so good at what he does, man. He's a beast. I love that dude. CryptoFace said, I can smell a rally coming, and, well, dude was right, like he normally is. And so that is on the daily. Let's take a look at market cipher A. And I'm going to go ahead and hide my beautiful drawings. A reversal candle here going to the upside. And we have expanding bands here. And they flipped to green as well. Lower time frames, take a look at the 1 hour, seeing if we're seeing any potential pullbacks. 1 hour looks good. Green dot a few candles ago. Massive spike in volume on the 9 a.m. Pacific candle. Market cipher B tells us expanding momentum waves, although on the 1 hour, one thing to note, stochastics and RSI are pointing down, so that's one thing to keep in mind. Maybe the momentum is waning just a little bit, but this could be just a small pit stop until we take that next leg up, which, as you can see here on my chart, 110.766. I'll drop a flag on top of it. Sorry, 110.749. So keep an eye on a potential short for Bitcoin there. I would be careful. I'm not saying put in a limit order for a short, but keep your eye out. What will price do at this 110.7K level? If you see any sort of faltering or drop in volume, I would potentially look to enter a short, but keep your eye out on this price action. That's what I got for Bitcoin, my friend. What else you got on the alt?
All right, you got virtuals.
Let's say you mentioned virtuals.
Virtuals protocol is performing quite nice this morning, up about 12%, or just shy of that, just in the last 24 hours. Also up about 10% on the 7-day. And so, could we see a continuation out of virtuals protocol? You know, I'm curious to see if we get that big breakout, because it was about a month ago or about 3 weeks ago, we saw that $2.25 virtuals, and then we've kind of sold off since then. You look back at its previous all-time high, which was $4.50. I think it briefly touched $5 for a day or two, but you know, here we have the chart at $4.50, and so momentum is telling me the momentum breakout here. I think, you know, we were down at 40, 50 cents a couple months ago, 3 months ago. The community is behind Virtuals Protocol. There's a lot of buzz there. If you're paying attention to X and seeing what's going on outside of kind of the big headline news, a lot of development coming out of Virtuals Protocol. The AI narrative has cooled off, but it didn't die down. And if anything, it's starting to ramp back up. And I think if you get back to the similar scenario where it was here at previous all-time high, as far as everyone was talking about AI agents back in January, then you know what? I think $5 virtuals might be around the corner. And I think $5 virtuals, maybe within the next 30 days, if you see a big breakout out of Bitcoin. I am been kind of like a savant when it comes to the Virtuals Protocol, you know, chart. And so
I don't know about the chart, but the
and man, you know, what do you think about how many buttons I got undone here? You know, hey! That's when you know the market's doing well, because
it's like the pattern. You know, if a wedge is falling, it breaks up.
A V-shaped pattern here. You know, and the bottom of the channel is where you want to buy. Thank you, appreciate it.
What? Womp 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 would have been nice here. Why do I always get the shit end of the stick, bro? I don't get it. Anyways, what else you got, man? That's it. Markets are high. You got 2 things you want to talk about?
I mean, what else we got? Here we go. Let's get back into the market. So we got XRP, which is surprisingly at 2% up. So when you look at the biggest gainers today, which it's been a weird.
People don't get how big that news is, man.
It's been weird as far as these headlines, right? And what you would think would rally the market. So you got Solana only up 2% on the day, and you got XRP only up 2% on the day, but yet ETH is outperforming XRP and Solana.
Wait, what?
ETH is outperforming XRP and Solana.
Oh, I thought I heard you wrong. Sorry.
And then Cardano's outperforming. And then, I mean, Chainlink's up, Avalanche is up, Stellar is up. Stellar's outperforming XRP. And so,
Stellar video yesterday. Go check it out.
I'm just I'm a little confused, man. Big breaking headline stories, and you're not getting big movements out of the chart. So I mean, I'm not sure.
Look, because you said XRP, I think people are absolutely sleeping on this news. We put out a video literally like 30 minutes ago, 40 minutes ago, kind of breaking this down. I gave my thoughts. I want to get Rob's thoughts because this is very big news. Ripple eyes U.S. banking license in bold expansion push. Okay. This is a post from Brad Garlinghouse. True to our longstanding compliance roots, Ripple is applying for a national bank charter from the OCC. If approved, we would have both state, via NYDFS, and federal oversight, a new and unique benchmark for trust in the stablecoin market. Listen to the next part because this one is very important. Earlier in the week, via standard custody, we also applied for a Fed master account. While Congress is working towards clear rules and regulations and banks are leaning in, this access would allow us to hold RLUSD reserves directly with the Fed. and provide additional layer of security to future-proof trust in RLUSD. So, Rob, OCC, you know me, NYDFS, and the Fed master account, something Caitlin Long from Custodia Bank has been begging for. XRP is looking to get it. Will they get it? What does that mean? I already shared my thoughts. You want them? Go watch the video we just posted. Rob, your thoughts, please.
I think the RLUSD is the biggest narrative here. It's the biggest takeaway.
What? You mean the Fed master account, right?
Yeah.
That's the biggest narrative.
The stablecoin narrative. I think when we look back 10 years from now, Ripple, I think will have. I think they're going to have the strongest stablecoin. I think their stablecoin.
Really?
I think that Ripple stablecoin will be okay because what is the competition right now?
Circle, Tether.
Okay, I think Tether is on the outside looking in. They're going to lose market cap over time,
Rob,
and that's because
don't forget the banks.
Regulation, U.S. regulators are not favoring Tether, right? They're putting progressive legislation in. And sure, I think the obvious I think the obvious winner here, the obvious number one contender would be Circle. I think that Circle for the U.S. is going to be it's what's expected. But the dark horse, the sleeping giant, is Ripple, and I would not be surprised, but one, because Ripple with Brad Garlinghouse, we know that there's a lot of connections there with Donald Trump, the current administration.
Beef Bourguignon?
Yeah, beef Bourguignon. So, you know what? I'll say it here, man. I think that Ripple's going to take the crown when it comes to stablecoin through the RLUSD. And I think that's going to be the most profitable part of Ripple. I think it really is. I think versus their own XRP token. And I think that if we see a publicly traded Ripple, which I think is inevitable, get publicly traded Ripple, you get the stablecoin narrative, you get the stablecoins running through the banking system. I think that's what we're seeing here. From a zoom out, like what does the chessboard look like, and the pieces are moving. I think that the biggest narrative here is Ripple is going to dominate the stablecoin space and also dominate crypto finance, because I think that's the crown jewel, right?
I think the big unknown factor is the banks. JP Morgan stablecoin. You know, Bank of America is going to have one. You know, Chase or Citi's going to have one. Wells Fargo's going to. Banks are going to have one.
But
which I think
is going to be one network that most people use.
Here's the thing, though. I think it's extremely important if Ripple can get that Fed master account, right? This tweet. If they get what's in this tweet or this post, Ripple has a chance.
Let me ask you, how many different platforms are there that you can send fiat from one bank account to the other? Yeah, Cash App,
Venmo,
Zelle. There's and then those are just the three that come to mind. But if you were to like search online, you could probably find 100, 200, maybe 1,000 different potential apps that you could move money from one checking account to another. It's not anything crazy here. But where is 90% of transactions done? Through American banking accounts, from one checking account to the other. Retail, me to you, me to you, or from you to me. You can Zelle me. It's Zelle. And so that's the number one go-to one. And so if you were someone that was invested in Zelle, if you were an early investor, you have.
Could you have invested in Zelle?
It is at some point a company on the back end. I'm not sure who runs it.
Yeah,
but
either.
But even if it's not publicly traded, you could have. Even if it's not publicly traded, Zelle still has a parent company or is a parent company. And so even if not publicly traded, if you had a chance to have ownership in that company.
Robert says, sorry to cut you off. It says Zelle is an American digital payment network run by private financial services company owned by the banks of Bank of America, Truist, Capital One, JP Morgan, PNC, US, and
But you see what I'm saying here is that you have
So it's a service.
one network service, regardless about investing in it. Like scratch that idea. Okay, whatever.
Good.
Okay. At the end of the day, you have one network service that is essentially the go-to for all the banks. Now, JP Morgan could have created their own network. Bank of America could have created their own network, but they all decided, hey, you know what? What is in the best interest of all of us is to use one payment network to send fiat back and forth, which they chose Zelle. What was the name of the companies there?
It was all the big ones. It was
Exactly.
JP Morgan, PNC Bank, US Bank, Wells Fargo, Capital One,
Now, let me ask you.
Bank of America.
They did this with Zelle. Do you really believe that each one of them is going to have their own stablecoin network and then promote each one own stablecoin network?
Yes, Rob, I do.
But don't they all have the same
Rob,
incentive here in this
Rob,
one?
it's a new product. No, this is just an easier way for their customers to send money back and forth.
What is crypto? Crypto's an easier way
But
for the
you
customers
make
to
money
move.
from it. Do you pay a fee when you send Zelle, Rob? No, you don't. You pay a fee when you send stable coins. Zelle is it's literally like, hey guys, let's get on the same page with our ledgers. That way we can just send money quickly without having to go through all the back end shit. Well, we still do, but the user sees the money sent right away. They don't make money on it.
At the end of the day, there is no industry that doesn't see centralization to the number one product. You can look at phones; they all centralize to Apple and Samsung. There's 100 different service providers. There's phone providers, your TV manufacturer, your car companies. At the end of the day, you can have 1,000 different manufacturers, but the reality of it in the market, just how markets work, is that things centralize to the popular products. And it's going to be no different here. You have 1,000 different currencies internationally, but the dollar is the go-to centralized currency. It's the one that everyone uses. It's the global reserve. There's lots of precious metals out there, but people, the market cap, have spoken, and they want gold. When it comes to crypto, there's one king. It's Bitcoin. And when it comes to a crypto network to move money around, the banks are going to, they might launch their own services, but at the end of the day, they're all going to fall back to whatever the most popular network is. Because if everybody is using, let's just say, XRP, RippleNet, if everyone's using XRP and the Ripple network to transfer money, and you're like, well, don't use them, use our product, it's not going to work. You can try. We've seen it time and time again. That's just how markets work. It's inevitable. It's not even... Now, maybe it's JP Morgan's network that wins. Maybe they have enough presence in the market already, enough market cap share on everything. Maybe they have enough tentacles across the financial network to say, like, hey, you know what? We're gonna corner this market. We're gonna champion the stablecoin. We're gonna launch it. Yeah, maybe. But what will not happen, David, is that you will not have a JP Morgan, a Wells Fargo, a Bank of America, and all of them be successful. One of them will rise to the top, and that will be the go-to one.
Yes, the fire rises. From Batman. Nathan Lowmaster had a $20 super chat. Said, David, is that a solid colored shirt? There's some like little... What are those?
Answer is no.
There's dots or like an eyeball. Pretty cool, man. Let's see Rob's shirt. Oh, someone said your shirt looks like an inverse head and shoulders pattern. Or an Adam and Eve. Right, you got the V shape and then the cup handle.
Head and shoulders.
Jesus Christ. Let's talk about altcoins heating up. Pancakes. Not just for breakfast, but for swapping. Pancake Swap hits record $325 billion in monthly volume. BNB chain heating up. XRP chain heating up. ETH heating up. By the way, I ended the Ethereum poll. And what was that ETH poll here? We have, what will Wall Street be willing to invest in more? 59% say ETH ETF, 40% said the Solana staked ETF. And so, yeah, I'm on your side, you guys. And then again, as Rob went on his massive rant earlier, BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF earns more revenue than their $500 billion S&P fund, Rob. So just know something. If Bitcoin's price is at $1 million, the fees BlackRock makes will 10x. Okay, so it's in their best interest to get people in the product and for the price to go up in BTC. Any thoughts on this one?
No, I mean it's interesting that just the ETF made more money than the whole S&P 500.
No. It's BlackRock's S&P fund.
Oh,
their number one fund. Their number one fund.
I read that headline way wrong.
No,
this
but
morning,
it's,
as I was like,
I would say this is a bigger story. I mean, S&P averages 8 to 10%. Dude, $624 billion fund. The S&P fund, which has been around for a very long time with BlackRock, and in what, a year? Bitcoin, their fees on Bitcoin. I mean, these are attention grabbers. These are things that happen that get the attention of the CEO and the CFO and the C-suite team, the executives. Hey, can you believe this ETF we started a year ago? We made more money on that than their S&P fund. Like, what?
That's at 0.25%
Yes.
as well, which is interesting because there's a lot of other companies that have that 0.5%, that
3/4, yeah.
4%. And so at 0.25%,
this has been their most
annualized 0.25%. They're making more money on that than the S&P. That's crazy.
I know. It's huge. It's really big. That's all I got for the show today. Anything else?
Nah, man. I think. What do you think price is tomorrow?
Bitcoin?
Do you think
112,603?
You think we're in new all-time high territory?
Yeah.
I think so, man.
112,603. That's my price prediction.
You know, you get these certain like euphoric vibes and these like kind of breakouts, and it's just, I think it's there, man. This is the 1 year, on Bitcoin, and I think it's a double top, and we've essentially just in the last month came up. We tested that previous all-time high, kind of got rejected. This happened twice over the span of this happened twice over a 2-day period. Man, I'm telling you, I think this
Where you
is
at?
it, bro.
Where are you at?
This is just, what's that?
I'm at 112,603. Where are you at?
I like that, man. I think
You can't bite my.
I think
fucking prediction.
113.
You are such a cheese ball.
113. Okay, you know what? I was gonna say like 113.8. Let's just throw it around 114. I think we candle wick to 114.
Okay.
Candle wick to 114. We trade back down to something above 112. But I think we open up the show tomorrow and say we had a Bitcoin all-time high. Bitcoin broke new all-time highs, 114.
112,603. Write it down in permanent marker because you won't have to delete it. That's all I got, man. Gina. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Appreciate every single one of you. If you're not subbed to the channel, make sure you subscribe and go watch the videos we put out on our uploads. Until tomorrow. Peace.
Sin City, crypto. Everybody know we here for entertainment and info. Gonna show you how to get that big dough. So every day stay tapped in for big facts, no capping. With Bitcoin, if you're in, then you win. We divide the pie with no fraction. It's Big Rob, David. I spit the game, but they gave it. Name the coin that's your favorite. I got dry powder, why save it? To the OGs, new beginners. Special shout out to the well members. Buy a dip, sell winners. Ain't really nothing you can tell sinners. Tune in for the latest new flavors. They gonna teach us mean coins. They polarizing like barbecue chicken pizzas. I laugh with a major grin. Laggers, we trade them in. Baddies, they came to sin. And sinners gon' play to win. Screaming hola till my bags are flowing over. Hold ya to the moon and to the solar. Won't I? Don't be letting FOMO